Bombardier, Canada's foothold into the commercial aviation market, a thing of pride and accomplishment that squarely puts Canada into the realms of most developed and technologically advanced countries. Producing commercial aircraft is incredibly expensive and technically difficult, so much so that only a few countries produce commercial aircraft: Airbus in Europe, Boeing in the United States, and a smaller player, Embraer in Brazil, and of course, Bombardier in Canada. That's it. Even countries like China are yet to produce a single commercially viable aircraft with their heavily government-funded programs. Building aircraft is an incredibly lucrative industry as it requires billions of dollars in investment, creates hundreds of thousands of jobs, and is largely an export product, as many more nations use and fly aircraft than produce aircraft. This gives governments and regulators a huge incentive to assist these companies in any way they can, as the negatives of leaving these companies to fail are enormous. However, where there's privilege, there is abuse, and in Canada, Bombardier has become a thorn in the side of Canadians everywhere. What we're talking about is Bombardier, welfare recipient 001. Bombardier has received a total of $3 billion in subsidies from the Canadian government. Now, this isn't exclusive to Bombardier. One of their main competitors and the main party of a recent trade spat, Boeing, is the single largest recipient of government subsidies in the United States, to the tune of $64 billion, which is almost equal to 2/3 of the entire company's revenue. It's no surprise that the company's stock nearly doubled in the span of the past year. However, Bombardier is special in the fact that not only is it a heavily subsidized company, it also yields a very special place in the country, as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau seems ever willing to defend this one specific company above the entire nation, speaking with such conviction on the rights of Bombardier while denouncing 35 million people on the world stage. The response from Trudeau was so swift and direct, seldom seen from any head of state. Even Donald Trump, a very verbal proponent of US industry, didn't even make a comment on the case. Contrast this with multiple direct threats to bar Boeing from any government contracts, including the purchase of 18 Super Hornet jet fighters. However, it seems our Prime Minister has a special place for Bombardier, never seeming to criticize any of the seriously inept decisions, such as defending Bombardier's executive payouts shortly after taking bailout money, and continuing to give tax cuts to this company. Just to put this in perspective, if you paid income taxes last year, the equivalent of $325 of which went indirectly to contribute to Bombardier's bailouts and subsidies. That's the individual taxpayer costs of supporting Bombardier. The main argument for all these subsidies is to protect high-quality jobs. Well, let's take a look at this argument and break it down on a cost basis. Let's just assume that only $1 billion was given to Bombardier, and let's ignore all other tax cuts and ongoing subsidy payments. Bombardier's maximum employee count was 70,900 employees, which is about $14,000 per job. This is the best case scenario figure, taking the real figures of approximately $2.3 billion in just subsidies, ignoring all ongoing tax cuts and cash payments, and subtracting the jobs that the company has recently cut. The cost to support a single Bombardier employee is $34,848 per employee, all while the profits and benefits of the company's preferential tax treatment from the Trudeau government and previous governments in the past continue to go into the hands of the shareholders, executives, and most importantly, the Bombardier family, which till this day still owns a controlling share of the company and is the main beneficiary of this preferential treatment. The Bombardier family continues to own 54% of the company. Giving them majority control as well as their Class A structure allows them to push most of the risk onto the general shareholder while maintaining all the benefits of any increase in the company's value. Effectively, they still decide what goes on in the company, and it's not hard to imagine that they are benefiting personally from this close government business relationship. The Bombardier family is currently worth $1.96 billion. Wealth largely predicated on a company that hasn't been able to turn a profit in years. not to mention the failure to deliver on contracts they already have, such as their contract with the TTC for the new upgraded streetcars, which they only delivered a quarter of which. Proponents in the federal government have tried for years to loosen the family's hold on the company, but yet continue to make no requirement on giving the government more control and insight into the company as a requirement of accepting government money. All of these efforts came to a headwind when Delta offered to buy 75 new C-Series aircraft totaling $5.6 billion. This emboldened and incentivized the Bombardier family to keep control of their shares in order to capitalize on this influx of business to the company. Essentially, the family wants to have their cake and eat it too. Yet the Trudeau government continues to shield this family from any serious action and court sanctions, as this is a company valued at just over $6 billion. Gives the government, at the most conservative estimate, a 33% interest in the company. Yet despite this much committed capital to the company, it seems there will be no accountability to the taxpayer. This is very reminiscent of the 2009 government bailouts of Chrysler, Ford, and GM, which were also assisted by the US federal government. As we saw then, giving companies money regardless of how many jobs they're holding hostage often just creates dependence, greed, and further inequality, all while shareholders and wealthy executives prosper. This is extremely evident when shortly after taking bailout money, the company not only raised their executives' pay, they fired more than 14,000 employees, nullifying the argument that this money will help save jobs. As much as we want to save and ensure Canadian companies strive and succeed, helping already big and powerful companies continue to use employees' livelihoods as emotional blackmail and pay their incompetent CEOs higher bonuses for not only failing to turn a profit, but also failing to even deliver on the business they already received, all without any strict requirements from the government to ensure jobs and the success of industry comes first. We have been simply suckered into a race to the bottom, all with the help of a prime minister who will jump to the aid of one company while demonizing and taxing thousands of others.